A couple of questions here, Gary, about the right to privacy, wiretaps, monitoring bank accounts, internet spying is coming up very quickly, and possibly even comments I'm hearing on the news about shutting down the internet. And so
let me say this, and I do know a bit about this. I spent 23 years in the CIA and clandestine service. We never looked at, I'm going to just be frank with you, when I did operations overseas, we were working against foreigners, terrorists. They were from an array of countries in the Middle East, and we listened to their phones, we did wire jobs on them, we ran sources at them, everything. If it was an American citizen, we immediately stopped the CIA. We told the FBI, we got the force involved. The CIA never did collection and pursued U.S. citizens. If someone was listening to a phone overseas, and a U.S. citizen came onto the line, we would get off the phone line because we didn't want to, by accident, violate your privacy. Now what we do is we go right to the court and say, there's an American line here, we think it's a U.S. citizen, we get them involved because we don't want to violate issues of privacy and we don't want to act against American citizens that way. There are problems, though, and the problems require the Patriot Act because we have internal threats. The UK, the British, have much greater threats. I want to give you an example. In the United Kingdom, it's estimated there are at least 2,000 individuals that have gone through and completed terrorist training in either Afghanistan or Pakistan. 2,000 over the years. So they've been through the job camps. In the United States, we might have a handful. That's it. Their problem is of an order of a magnitude greater than ours that you can't believe. So in the United States, we have the FBI, we have the CIA that works outside with local police. In London, they have local police, they have MI6, that's like their CIA that goes out, and then there's MI5, which does nothing but intel operations internally against those 2,000 that they're worried about. The great question, the problem that the British feel, and their fear is that people with British passports, terrorists on British passports, or British citizens, will fly into the United States and kill thousands of Americans. Because they don't need a visa to come here. It's a big problem. So they coordinate closely with the U.S. The problem is this. We live in a modern era where small numbers of people can leverage technology for terrible effects. The question you gave me is simple, but the answers are quite complicated. And so we have to find a balance between securing ourselves from potential threats and constantly thinking about the constitutional rights of every citizen. And this is what I spent my whole life doing as a CIA officer, trying to find that balance. And you have to understand that we never would want to, I wouldn't even go near an American in a false name, you know what I mean, or any of that stuff, because we worked against foreigners, terrorists. We didn't want to have any contact with Americans as we were doing this, for the fear that they would become involved by accident, or that they would be somehow drawn into something. It was always trying to protect Americans. But we wouldn't work against U.S. citizens. Now we have the problem where we have this Hawaii character over in Yemen, right? We're talking about he's on the kill list with a predator because he's the guy that inspired the guy to do the killings on Fort Hood. He's the guy that inspired this guy, one of the other guys in the internet from the New York Times, the Times Square bomber, involved with a lot of these things. So he's on the list, and and I've heard that in the press. I haven't seen the list. I've been out since 2005.
Missing 17 Afghans.
Excuse me?
Missing 17
Yeah,
Afghans.
so there's a lot of issues to all of this, but I have to just say that in responding to this, that we have to defend ourselves. We need things like the Patriot Act at times. You have to know that the people that work to do this are just like you. I'm a guy that came out of Long Island, and I was a listed guy. I grew up, it's like, we're no different than any of you, and we're all very sympathetic because you're our parents, our brothers, our sisters, it's like we're all family here. No one wants to by accident cause another American citizen a problem or violate their rights, but we have to do some of these things. And then if there's a question, we go to a judge. And that's how these things are resolved.
In addition to that, do you think this administration has compromised the CIA and the FBI?
The question is has this administration compromised the CIA or the FBI? It's a complicated question. And there's some issues here that this administration, CIA and DOD, the last couple of years has done a very good job, and the federal administrator tribal areas, eliminating high-value targets. They've done really well the last 18 months. They didn't build that program. It was built during the Bush administration, and now the thing's kicked into high gear. I didn't support their placement of Leon Panetta as the director of CIA. He had no experience in it before, and the man that has run CIA for the last couple of years was Steve Capps, my dear friend. Former Marine officer, who's in CIA for many, many years. He just retired. Steve Capps, great guy. They just moved another guy up who doesn't have his level of experience. This current administration doesn't call this a war on terror. Contingency operations. What a joke.
Man-made disaster.
Man-made disasters.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to know. He thinks if you coddle our opponents, if you appease and you apologize, that it's going to somehow be better. It's completely absurd. It's completely absurd, his approach. So the problem is he's compromising our national security. Not just CIA, my answer is not just CIA, FBI. He made a mistake with Panetta. If he was going to choose a Democrat, the guy I would have chosen was Tim Romer. He's U.S. ambassador right now to India, because he was a Democrat, but he was on the House Subcommittee for Intelligence. He was on the Senate Committee as a staffer first, and then he was a 9/11 guy. He's a guy that really knew a lot. But he didn't use that guy. He used someone else that didn't have any skill at all on him. Panetta's a decent man. He is a decent man. He's worked in CBO. He's done a lot of other things. He's completely unprepared for this type of work. He didn't have a life making those decisions. And I don't want to say he's not an honorable man, but he wasn't qualified to be given the job.
And what about the leaking of the administration does?
Oh, there were some things that leaked in the beginning that were just, look, they don't have the same emphasis on national security. They just don't. They just don't.
They don't understand it.
They don't understand it. The whole, even John Brennan made a statement recently about some things, and I know him. I mean, I worked at CIA with him. Just, but he's now a creature of the Obama administration. That's what he is.
So he's a troll.
It's unfortunate.
Gary, with your wealth of experience in the Middle East, you read a lot on the internet these days about Sharia law and the Muslims trying to bring the Sharia law into their communities in any country that they're in. What is your feeling on that?
The only law of the U.S. is the Constitution of the United States. That's it. I don't want any international law. I don't want any Sharia law. I don't want anything considered other than the Constitution of the United States and the intent of its framers. That's it. That's it. This is not hard.
Gary, do you have any comments about, I think President Obama and Clinton came out with some where he supported that UN gun ban?
They're looking for all sorts of ways to attack, to go at the Second Amendment here. We just have to resist. I'll be honest with you. I was talking to someone at an earlier Tea Party, and individuals used to say, well, the government's going to come and try to take our guns away. And when I heard that 10 years ago, I thought, well, that's kind of an extreme position. It's far-fetched. You know what? They're right.
Yeah.
They're telling the truth. This administration has made me a believer, that they're going to try to do that at some point. That is their ultimate intention in the end, is to disarm us. And as George Washington said, guns are democracy's teeth. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm concerned about your name recognition here, and particularly the fact that you have to let the Republican base know about this. I'm a committee person, we are, Warwick. Are you making any plans to meet in Orange County, so that the Republican base, the committee people, get to know you, because your name is so...
Right. I was up in Ulster just recently. I haven't been to Orange yet. I'll be doing this all around the state, relentlessly. I was in Buffalo last night. This is the 45th meeting I've done in 48 hours. I flew from Buffalo, to Kennedy, then I was in, a couple hours ago. I'm covering as much territory as fast as I can, but I'll be frank with you. I want to see the Tea Party people. Anytime someone calls me, there's a Tea Party I want to see, I want to get out.
We have a rally. July 10th.
July 10th.
At 211 in Middletown, opposite the Gander Mountain.
Write that down, John. So we get that.